ties it in at bottom of the 420th inning. So there's a crack in the bat. It's hit. He's running. He's rounding first. He's rounding second, completely ignoring third base. Oh, he's sliding head first into 69th base with Doug Mellard.
What's up? Welcome to another 69th base. I am your host, Doug Mellard. Thanks for tagging along. We got a fun show for you today. I'm going to talk about the Red Rifle himself. That's right, Andy Dalton. Boom. What? Yeah. That's all we've got right now. That and a thing called The Last Dance. That's right, sports that happened decades ago. That's where we're at in the sports world right now. Plus some other little tiny nuggets, droplets of news, if you will. I hope you guys are all having a great May the 4th. Hope your Star Wars hangovers don't interfere with your Cinco de Mayo celebrations. Oh, boy. I am loving quarantine. I hope you're having a great quarantine. My wife and I had a bit of a speed bump yesterday. Let's just say we ate some dip that had been sitting out a little bit too long. I'm sure you guys have all been there during quarantine. You're having a lovely day. You get high, and you remember there's some dip in the fridge. It's really good dip normally. But if it's been sitting out, you should probably throw it out. It's in the fridge, so it was refrigerated. But even in the stone mode, we asked each other, should we toss this? Sounds too good right now. It sounds perfect. Just getting high, watching a little bit of this movie, eating this dip. And boy, did that come back to bite us. The next day was pretty much a wash for us. A lot of time on the toilet. Oh, man. I will say it did change things up, though. And change is good during quarantine, Gave us an activity. Shitting our brains out wasn't the worst thing. Did it hurt? Yes. Were we having stomach cramps all day? Yes. Did the heat on top of that not feel good? Was it a bad combination? Well, yeah, it was all horrible, but it was something different. Got to poop a lot. And haven't had something come along like that in a while. So it was interesting, kept it interesting. So, if you want to play a little Russian roulette with your booty, let some dip go bad. I am losing my fucking mind. Anyway, I'm going to share a couple quick stories and a quick joke with you before we jump into the sports world. I do believe these stories will be really fast, so I'm going to double up on them and then throw out a joke your way. But the first story, I think I did this one time on stage, and it didn't work at all. I still think it's so fucking funny, though. And it could be a thing, too, where I need to redress it and share it with people on stage once we can do that again. But sometimes what happens, you do a joke, it doesn't go well that first time. It scars you, and you don't want to share it again. But then, oftentimes you'll bring that joke back, and you'll be like, oh, I'm an idiot. Should have not given up after the one try. Maybe it wasn't the funnest crowd. You never know. Anyway, here's the story. My wife enters a banjo competition the last couple years. That's right. I'm married to a hillbilly. Hibbity. I'm married to a hibbity, and she's actually quite good. But it's like a newer hobby that she's been tearing it up with, and we were at the competition a couple years back, and everybody was going to the stage. There were a bunch of people like in her competition. There are all these levels of competition and stuff, and there were a bunch of people in her competition that day. And every time somebody would go up, they would say their name, and then they would share the name of their banjo, which she I don't think at the time she had a name. And she was kind of nervous. She loves playing, but she doesn't necessarily love getting in front of people. So I was trying to help her out by making her laugh and break the nervousness up a little bit. And I was just like, I think when you go up there, you should share your name and then say, and this is my banjo, Hrothgar the Cockslayer. And without missing a beat, just like very calmly, very matter-of-factly. This is me, and this is my banjo, Hrothgar the Cockslayer, and then just dive right into your tune. You know what I mean? God, that would have been great. And she didn't do it, and we didn't speak for 3 weeks. It was a huge ordeal. It was a big, big, big problem in our marriage for a while. I was like, I can't believe you didn't call your banjo Hrothgar the Cockslayer in front of all those strangers. No, she did laugh a lot, but man, I just really wish that had happened, especially with children there. It would have been great. You know, after telling that story, it's very funny, but I see why it wouldn't work on stage. Kind of tapers off there. Got to find an ending. Sorry, I didn't have that ending peppered up there for you guys yet. Thought it would be funnier, but I'm still letting you guys hear it, not editing it out. Now, here's the other story. This is a new thing. I can't wait to share on stage once that is again possible. A friend of ours apparently was hanging out with her little boy, and she was just like, hey, there's a group of little bunny rabbits. There's a whole family of them, just little baby bunnies with the mama bunny, hopping along, eating some grass, hanging out, doing bunny stuff. And she was like, oh, look at the cute little bunnies. She pointed to the bunnies. The son was very excited. Look at those cute bunnies, man. Kids love bunnies. Kids love little animals. Kids love all animals of all kinds, especially little fuzzy wuzzy baby animals. And they're just admiring these tiny little babies. And that's when a giant, massive crow swept down, pecked the hell out of the baby rabbit, just tearing at its head, just peck, 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 ripping it apart, and then basically like flew off and just ate it. And just destroyed that baby bunny, that cute little baby bunny. Oh man, I just love the idea of pointing that out to a young child, and then just sheer havoc is being wreaked, you know? Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, I feel really bad for the kid, but also it's a good life lesson, you know? There's life and death, and you should appreciate everything all the time, you know? You never know when a crow's just going to come swoop in and peck the hell out of you and rip you apart and eat you. Also, real quick, I didn't know that was a thing crows did. Did you guys? I just assumed they ate little bugs, you know, little tiny, I don't know what I thought they ate, but I definitely didn't think they ate bunnies. So that was news to me. Am I an idiot? You guys weigh in. Well, we all know I'm an idiot. Let's shift to a quick stand-up bit of mine that I don't get to tell right now, and it makes me really sad. This will be on the upcoming Fart Safari 3, Fart Hard with a Vengeance, so there's that. So you'll get to hear it then. If I don't get to a stage before that. But it's a little ditty that goes a little something like this. I think we should give the actress Daryl Hannah a Lifetime Achievement Award for being the only female ever to be smoking hot and also named Daryl. Yeah, I just picture her back in her heyday, 80s, 90s, cranking out all these great movies, and guys just lined up at the bar to say hi to her, and they're like, hey, what's your name? And she's like, Daryl! Oh, man. I don't know why that makes me so giddy, but it does. Daryl! Oh, boy. All right, guys. Well, it's time to jump into the wide world of sports. Are you ready? That's right. Guys, it is time to talk some Andy Dalton. Enough teasing. We're here, guys. I know you've been waiting for it, and now it is time to just open up about the Red Rifle trade. I'm going to take a little sip of my drink first. Oh, boy. That's all just straight bourbon. So we'll immediately go to Skip Bayless's take on the signing because, like me, he is a Cowboys fan. Skip loves the signing because he says it's advantage Jerry Jones. He wants Jerry to win versus Dak in the negotiating right now, which is baffling considering he thinks Dak can do no wrong. He wants it both ways. He wants Dak to be the reason they win, but also to be paid less than anyone else on his team, basically. I just don't understand. Forever, he has defended Dak Prescott as the reason that the Cowboys have won any games in the last several years. But now that it's time for him to get paid, he's like, wow, he shouldn't take money. Even though Cooper is getting paid a ton, Zeke is getting crazy paid. I just don't understand why. Like, if you really think he's that good, give him the fucking money. People aren't sitting around complaining about Mahomes like, oh man, no, Mahomes should take less money. They're saying give that guy whatever the fuck he wants. That dude is really good, and it's the most important position. And look, you want every quarterback to take less. That's just what you want. But like, if they're really, really good, you just deal with it. It's just how the fucking cap is set up. I want him to take less. Sure. I definitely want Dak Prescott to take less because I don't think he's worth it. But why should he? This is how it's set up. Shitty quarterbacks have been paid. Derek Carr's been the highest paid quarterback. Andy Dalton, I didn't look that up, but I'm sure he was at some point the highest paid quarterback. It just, whoever's up in the negotiating process is the highest paid player in football. That's just how it works. So I'm not going to I am going to be frustrated because I'm not like super tied to Dak. But I you can't blame him at the same time because that's just how it, like, take your fucking money. What if his career falls apart? What if he gets injured? Take your fucking money now, dude. Whatever. But seriously, don't. I do kind of have the same take as Skip. It's just weird because I have not defended Dak. I think he's fine. Skip loves Dak and now is saying, don't take the money. That just doesn't really pan out well. He especially likes the signing, Skip Bayless, because he thinks Jacksonville and New England were trying to get him, and then we got him. I think he thinks that's cool because it shows Belichick something, I guess. I don't know. And everything that I've read, it sounds like Jacksonville and New England did not give two shits about it. So there's that. I like this signing a lot because it covers a lot of bases. It's always good to have a good backup, and Dalton was a starter that got his shitty team to the playoffs multiple times. 2, it's particularly great if we have an upcoming season because what if Dak tested positive for COVID? Obviously, I do not want that, but it is a possibility right now. He could be asymptomatic and be fine, but they would still have to yank him the hell out of there. Then we have Dalton. We're ready to go. He already had a party where he got in a bunch of trouble for having too many people there. And we also have a shortened season. There will be more injuries than usual, if we do have a season. So great time to have a great backup. You always want a great backup. 3, if Dak held out, we would be screwed, but now we'll be probably okay. Before we had Cooper Rush, we were on thin ice last year. Like, if Dak went down, man, I don't think Cooper's coming to the rescue, and he immediately got cut. And Dalton never had weapons like this. Basically, Dak can't sit out now because of his contract. He saw what happened when Tony got hurt. He took over. He could, now I think Dalton's enough of a scare to not want to sit out and think, well, what if he hits it off with CD and Gallup and Cooper and Zeke? You don't know what's going to happen. Maybe Dalton just has a resurrection. 4, if things go completely south with Dak, we have a bridge quarterback. And 5, he was cheap. It was a cheap deal. He was set to be paid, $17 million? We got him for 3. That's pretty awesome. Honestly, Dalton, he gets a lot of shit, but the more I was looking into it, Dalton pretty much is Dak Prescott if Dak carries on as is. Like, Dak has done a great job. We've gotten to the playoffs, but so did Dalton. Dak has had better teams than Dalton had when he was going to the playoffs every year as a starter to start off his career. Like, straight up. Like, what did Dalton have? AJ Green? Was that pretty much it? I think he had an aging Chad Johnson, like, at the end of his career. What else did he have? Like, he did. Right now, we've got such a setup. It's insane. Like, and Dalton won 50 games in his first 5 years, I think, and went to the playoffs the first 5 years. Dak hasn't done that. He's done it, every other year? He has 3 playoffs to Dalton's 4 in 4 years. Is that right? I mean, come on. It's pretty similar. I would say I definitely like watching Dak better, and I like his grit. Dalton's a pretty quiet type. I like that Dak's a fighter, But I don't know, man. I don't think they're that different. Honestly, like he feels like Dak but cheaper. If there's not that, if the coaches see in practice that there isn't a huge drop off in Andy Dalton, then, if you want to part ways with Dak because clearly they're having some issues, you can slowly back away, and that's that. And it's a cheaper deal. So that's all a win win. And then, maybe hopefully you bring in a younger guy. I think it's weird that Des Bryant has been brought into some of these stupid shows to talk about the Dak Prescott, Andy Dalton situation. And I think he was saying it was insulting to Dak, which is funny. Like, it's so weird that it's insulting if you have a good backup. You should always have the best backup you can. Andy Dalton has to be one of the top backups because he was a starter. There's so many terrible, terrible backups. So why is that insulting? That's a good deal. That's a win for everybody. It's a win for Dak. If Dak goes out for a few games and Dalton keeps him winning, that's good for the whole team. That's great. What, do you just want to fucking lose? But anyway, they brought in Des Bryant to a lot of these shows to talk about this, and I think it's weird that he's stirring the pot and creating. They just like, why are you bringing in Des Bryant? He's irrelevant right now and desperately wants Dak to lobby for him so he can get back on the team. And I don't think that's going to happen because we drafted CeeDee Lamb, and we're pretty deep at receiver right now. So sorry, Des, you'd be like a 4th, 5th, 6th stringer. I mean, that's better than what he's got right now, but I just don't think it's happening, buddy. I just think it's odd, like these shows, these like tabloid sports shows that'll bring in somebody like Dez to stir up controversy when it's like, seriously, how is he relevant to this right now? Why are we letting him upset anyone about anything? That's stupid. You kind of shit on Dez Bryant all the time. Now you're bringing him in and taking his take seriously? That doesn't make any sense. Also, Dez can't feel too great about that Baltimore turning down on the contract now. That doesn't look too fantastic now. I do feel bad that he got signed with the Saints and then immediately got injured, and I don't think he had any guaranteed money. I love Dez for a minute, like he was great, and I don't want, I want him to do well, but he's done enough boneheaded things to where it's like, this is on you, buddy. What the signing really does, the Andy Dalton thing, I think it's a good signing for Dallas, but other things that it points to is Jacksonville is good with Gardner Minshew and or tanking. I think they're set on, we're just going to go with this guy. He brings people into the stands. People fucking love him. I love the guy. Regardless, he had a good rookie season and nobody expected it. And he's got a moxie that you can't match. So why would you give up on that guy? Yeah, write it out. I think that's not a horrible plan. And then New England, I think that's the other huge thing that it points to is Belichick is set. Which means that most likely Bill knows something that we don't. Once again, either Stidham is better than we think, or he has devised a plan, a new system of cheating that he is really excited about during quarantine. He has a whole new influx of rules he can bend, you guys. He is salivating right now, Bill Belichick. He is ready to get the season underway because he knows exactly what to take advantage of rule-wise. Oh, man. Speaking of the Patriots, Colin Cowherd thinks that the Pats, I touched on this a little bit last week, I believe. He thinks the Pats are just doing a full-on reboot. He thinks they're just going to throw Stidham out there and see what happens. And if they don't do well, they'll have a high enough draft pick and with ample other draft picks that they can trade up to get whoever, the Trevor Lawrence or whoever they want. If you think Bill Belichick is just going to wing it and in any given season, you have not been paying attention to the guy. I fucking can't stand the guy. I don't like the Patriots. I don't like Tom Brady. I don't like any of these guys. But I'm not going to devalue what they've been doing for 2 decades. That dude is pretty great. How many unknown or shitty, washed-up players have been cut from other teams, and then they go to the Patriots, and then they have a killer season, and then they get cut again, and we're like, how the hell did he do that? He just knows shit we don't. And now he's doing this with Stidham. And I just don't know why you don't give him the benefit of the doubt. That is insulting to 2 decades of really good football, cheating aside. Also, especially again, he is about to be, in his mind, head to head with Tom Brady for wins next year. Do you really think on that first year he's just going to be like, let's just see what happens here? Let's just wing it. Yeah, that's what I always do. I'm a guy without a plan. Just go out there and, Tom Brady's got this stacked team, but we're just going to fuck around, see what happens, see if we can get more wins than him. Like, he is really dug into his ego like Tom Brady. They want to show that each were the reason that the Patriots were winning. So I don't think he's just going to fucking tank for a year. That's kind of implying that he's just going to tank. That's ridiculous. And I mean, I guess the only way Belichick would ever do that would be to have a total reset of Tom Brady. And that makes sense on some level, that he's just going to blow the team up and then start over. But when has he ever done that? I just don't. Even now, he's getting older. He doesn't have a ton of years left in coaching. I don't think he has a year to just fucking waste. That is a dumb take, my friend. Colin Cowherd, he's exhausting. And what the Andy Dalton signing also points to, Cam Newton is it. He's the last man standing. He's the last guy out there. Such a crazy whirlwind of an offseason for quarterbacks, whether it was draft or trades or cuts. And now here we are with the last guy on the frickin' merry-go-round, Cam Newton, just sitting out there. And with COVID and his injury shit, he's probably going to have to sit out there a little bit longer, which is crazy that a not too long ago NFL MVP is just sitting around without a gig. But it sounds like he wants to be a starter, which is kind of crazy right now because there are no jobs left out there. Everybody has their guy. And sure, you could argue that Newton is the better guy than Minshew and probably several other guys. But I think teams are dug in. And at this point, if there is a season, we're getting closer to it. And Newton can't be checked out by doctors. So what are you going to do? I think Newton's best bet probably is to just sit around and wait for an inevitable injury, especially with, again, the lack of training and off-season stuff. There's going to be a lot of injuries if we do have a season. So Cam Newton actually probably, money-wise, will do much better by just sitting around and waiting until somebody goes down. So we'll see what happens there. It's going to be a weird thing. It's just so crazy. Cam Newton is just sitting there. Winston is a Saint. Dalton is a Cowboy. How crazy is that? Honestly, not that crazy. It's just we don't have any sports, so it feels fucking nuts. I don't know if you guys saw this story, but there was this story written up about how Sean Payton really competitively took it to the Panthers by stealing this quarterback they were going to sign undrafted by drafting in the 7th round, trading up, I think, to just be like, fuck you, we got the guy you wanted. And Sean Payton was pretty vocal about it and kind of bragging. And I know a lot of it's kind of almost a joke, but at the same time, it's just real weird that Sean Payton was so excited to get this quarterback from out from under the Panthers when they just signed Winston, and they've been talking about Taysom Hill's going to be the guy once Drew Brees is gone. And now you want to bring in this 4th quarterback? I don't even know how they're really... They did a good job with Taysom Hill and Bridgewater, obviously, as far as getting looks, I guess, and seeing what was what. But bringing a 4th guy to the mix, I don't know how much you're going to get out of that guy. I think he's another gadget guy, kind of like Taysom Hill, and the Panthers were going to use him in that way. So it's like now you got 2 Taysom Hills? What's going on? And why are you so excited about that? I guess maybe Taysom's I'm not sure if you know this, but he's 30, 31 or something. Even though he just got in the league, he's an older dude, so maybe they're just maybe this is our younger Taysom Hill. But how many looks are you going to get on any of these guys? You got 4 fucking quarterbacks and no off season, pretty much. Like, good luck there. Thanks for bragging about that to everybody. It's pretty cool. Oh man. Oh no. Oh no. Guys, whew, you might want to sit down for this next bit of news. But the Bears declined the 5th-year option for Mitchell Trubisky. Yeah. Sorry to break that to you. I know that was shocking, but that's what happened. I don't think anybody saw that wasn't going to happen. It's crazy that they talked up Trubisky like he was still going to win the job early on in the offseason. And then they signed Nick Foles, and they're like, no, Trubisky's still the guy. And then they don't pick up his 5th-year option. I think we know what's going on here. Pretty sure Trubisky will not be a Bear after this year. And I don't think that's the worst thing for all you Bears fans out there. And hey, I can't say shit. I just said Andy Dalton is pretty much Dak Prescott, which means we just have 2 Andy Daltons on our team. So, we're not doing much better, even though we got the firepower. As far as The Last Dance is concerned, you guys, I haven't watched much. I did watch more, which was a little bit than before. I hadn't seen anything. I just kind of kept forgetting it was on, and I'm sure I can find it on demand or whatever right now, and I should do that. But I'll be honest. I've explained I wasn't a huge MJ fan. I know it's not a popular take. I've always appreciated him, of course. He's a fucking legend. He's the guy. He's the fucking GOAT. But at the same time, like I think it was just anybody that wins that much, I get real bored. And so I didn't like that. I wanted my Mavs to win during that time. And we were very far from winning at that time. So I would just get frustrated. And I had other like all-stars that I rooted for that weren't nearly as good. And I always I bow down to him. He's the fucking best. And Space Jam is pretty cool. Also, his shoes are pretty cool. But I just, that coupled with the fact that lately, this is a bad combo. When quarantine started out, my wife and I were watching more TV and movies than we've ever watched before. And it was really relaxing and nice. And lately, I've been kind of burnt out where it's like I can't do screen time. And we'll start to watch a movie that we're really excited about. And 10 minutes in, I'm fidgety. And so I've been doing other things. And I think that coupled with a guy that, I didn't idolize it as in the same ways that everybody else did. I haven't been able to get into it as much as I want to. I'm gonna watch it all at some point. And I think part of it too is honestly, I've been eating a lot of weed during this time, which is a new thing for me. And when I sit down to watch stuff, if I do watch stuff, the way to win me over is to have a lot of colors and, dumb shit or goofy shit, or on the other podcasts I watch children's programming. So I'm not saying I have a good take here. I know that this documentary is unbelievable. Everybody's just all over it. Meanwhile, I'm watching Sesame Street and getting high. Like, I'm not saying I'm doing something better. It's clearly I have a horrible attention span. And something is wrong with me. But what's weird is, I turned it on a little bit. And the way, for this podcast, I would hear Skip Bayless just go on and on about, this proves MJ was the fucking god. Are you seeing these highlights? Every time I would, kind of flip over, it was just about how he gambled or drank a lot. Or he was difficult. And it was like, I don't really. I saw a few highlights, but not many in the time that I sat down. But again, it was just me being stupid and high and not being able to dial in all the way. It sounds fucking fascinating. I can't wait to fully dive in. And it sucks too, because when you get too far behind in something, I was shocked to know that we were at episode 6. That's how long quarantine's been at this. I remember the first episode came out and I was bummed that I missed it. and now we're at 6, and I'm like, I gotta watch 6 hours. That's a lot. Which is funny because like there definitely are times where I'll just, my wife and I'll sit down and zip through a fucking series of some kind. But then there are other times where I'm like, I can't catch up. Anyway, that was a long way to go to say that I haven't seen much. In regards to Jordan and gambling and drinking, Colin Cowherd was talking about how, like, on the subject of addicts, he was saying Jordan isn't an addict, or it wasn't a problem because he could afford to do it and it didn't fuck up his career or relationships, unless you believe the theory that it got his dad killed, which is a theory that's out there. But on that subject, he was talking about with addicts, like, I can't hold your hand, just deal with it. That's a fun thing to say to a group of people that he will probably most likely get letters from. Letters? People really sending letters right now? Meanwhile, I think it was funny, like Skip Bayless idolizes this guy that A, is way younger than him, and B, is a huge gambler and drinker, things that Skip Bayless would never do. It's just kind of funny. All right. Well, so, eventually I'll watch The Last Dance, you guys, and I'll give you my takes if it sucks me in like it did most the rest of the world. I did hear a funny interview, not intentionally funny, on Colin Cowherd's show. He had the old coach George Karl on, who was a great coach. And George Karl, I do understand that he did have health issues, and I'm not belittling that, but he was on the phone with Colin Cowherd, and I think he didn't think that he was being, like his mic was on when he wasn't speaking, so like he would be done talking, and then Colin would come back with something, and during that time, George Karl was just making all the weirdest and gross old man noises you've ever heard. And again, I don't know what the latest is on his health stuff. I'm not making fun of that, but it was funny to just hear the old man when he's on hold, basically just going so anyway, that was fun. I don't know if on his podcast they edited it out. I hope they didn't, because it's pretty funny. Also, just a quick shout out. Rest in peace, Don Shula. Although I am not a Dolphins fan, obviously much respect to Don Shula, who has the only, undefeated season ever in NFL history. That is, unless you count the Patriots, who didn't win the Super Bowl, which I do not. So shout out to him, and especially because he was in Ace Ventura. That's pretty fucking cool. To be a coach that has the only undefeated season and you're an Ace Ventura, that's a great coach right there. So shout out to him and his family. And now it's time to start a rumor. All right, it's May the 4th. So I'm just going to share something I heard about Skip Bayless in regards to Star Wars. And here it is. He is actually a huge fan of Phantom Menace. So much so that he said, after he watched it, finally, a real Star Wars. He also went on to say, while the other Star Wars films were overrated, this one got everything perfectly right. Jar Jar Binks is everything we needed in a Star Wars character. He made Han Solo look like chopped liver. Everything about that is wrong. Especially in the end, he's saying looks like chopped liver. That's just like an old saying, just shows his age. And this was like 20 years ago. So he's always been a nerd and on the wrong side of every take. Doesn't that sounds like a take he would have? And I mean, he did have it. But if you thought it was made up, couldn't you believe that he said it? That sounds like him talking about LeBron James. Oh, man, that is the show. Another kind of quick one because we don't have sports, but I hope you had fun. As always, rate, review, subscribe, tell your friends, and give Earfinger, my other podcast, a listen. You can find it in the same places. It's a load of fun. I get high. I watch children's programming, and then I react to it sober after I listen to it. along with you guys, and it is dumb. And the last episode had some gold in there. And this next episode that I'm going to release this week, I make a phone call at like 4 a.m. while I'm drunk and stoned. And oh boy, it is quite embarrassing. And again, I'm going to be doing some other experimental stuff in there. So get ready for that. And, thanks for tuning in at both. To everybody that has, I really appreciate it. And, be safe and healthy out there. Be smart. Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon.
69th Base with Doug Millard was recorded in front of a live studio audience presented by Hormel Chili Radio Productions.